Y'all know what it is. Jay Williams, Let's Live Life, and we're back. This mask off. Buddy Lee. Let me tell y'all the story on Buddy Lee. Man, let's relive it. So in the story of Ernie, I told y'all he had a cellie named Buddy Lee. Buddy Lee's not the guy he killed. Buddy Lee was the one after this. I don't even know where to start with Buddy Lee. So much had happened with Buddy Lee. So I guess we'll take it back to the beginning. Buddy Lee got locked up in his 20s. And when Buddy Lee got locked up, it was the early 60s. Told me he used to work with his hands. He used to clear farmland so that they could build farmhouses. And he said he lived down this long dirt road. Said he had a wife, no kids. That was his everyday thing. Every day he'd get up, he'd pack his lunch. His truck was broke down, so he'd walk all the way to the front of this long driveway. Most likely an old, clay road. And one of the dudes he worked with would pick him up. Said work started early. He said he'd be up before sunrise. He'd be out at the end of that driveway before the sun rose. And he'd get picked up. By the time, they got into the field or wherever they were clearing trees and stuff, the sun would just be coming up. He said they worked long, hard days. Time he got dropped back off at the end of that driveway, it would be dark. He said this was every day. He said like clockwork, that's his life. That's what Buddy Lee does. Buddy Lee goes on to tell me that he gets dropped off one night. He gets dropped off one day, actually. He had hurt himself at work, so he come home early. I think he said it was like midday. He decided to come home. He walks down this driveway, injured, gets to his house, and there sits the sheriff's car. One of those old Mayberry, old-ass police cars back before they had the radios and all that. There it sat in his driveway. He said immediately he thought something had happened to his wife. Why would there be a cop at his house? What's going on? He started to freak out. He said so he came through the front door, went over to his gun rack, got his shotgun, and was walking through the house quietly, looking around, didn't hear nobody, didn't see nobody. Got to the bedroom, pushed the bedroom door, and there was his wife, riding the sheriff. She's right on top of him, bouncing up and down, just getting it. Said without thinking, without hesitation, he said it's kind of like, he said it was like an out-of-body experience, like he did it, but he didn't do it. Said he shot her right in the back with the shotgun. Said she fell over, the sheriff jumped up, started screaming and pleading, shot him. He fell over beside the dresser. But at least said he went back on in the living room, hung the shotgun back up on the rack, made himself something to eat, poured him some of that good old shine they used to drink back then, and sat in the chair. Went out and sat on the front porch in his chair with his dog. People immediately started looking for the sheriff. The sheriff is missing. The car is missing. Nobody knows where he's at. Nobody knows what's happened. Following morning, Buddy walks up to the end of the driveway, tells the people, look, I'm still hurt. I'm not coming in today. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Following day, he goes to work like nothing's wrong. Meanwhile, you got two people decomposing in his house, in his bedroom. He's done killed both of them. The sheriff's car, he's done pulled it around the side of his house. Say he didn't get many visitors, but just to be careful, pulled it around the side of his house. This would go on for weeks and weeks and weeks, better part of a month. Buddy Lee would go to work, come home, and he's got these two bodies that decompose. And one of the first questions I asked for him was, how could you be up in that house with that smell? I know the smell must have been just utterly gut-wrenching and horrendous. He said, oh yeah, it stunk pretty bad, but you get used to it. He said the worst part was when I would go to work, my co-workers would say I smelled bad. And I guess that was from the stench of death in the house that had sunk into his clothes. Now it's a month. He's been sitting up in the house with these two dead bodies. They're bloated, discolored. The worms have set in. Decay has set in. There's, gore all over the bedroom from where he hit him with this shotgun. People still looking. But he gets all turned up on that moonshine one night and decides, fuck it, I'm gonna drive this cop car, this old sheriff car. Gets in the old sheriff car, drives up to wherever he lives at, goes through the town, stops and gets him some groceries. Like I said now, his truck was broke. Somebody spots Buddy Lee in the sheriff's car. They go to the sheriff's office, let him know, hey, we seen Buddy Lee driving a sheriff's car, last night. Y'all might want to go investigate. They go to the house. Buddy Lee sitting on the front porch, nighttime. Walk up, ask him what's going on. And he said, oh, ain't nothing much. I said, Buddy Lee, where's the sheriff? He said, oh, he's back in the back bedroom. They asked him, is he alive? He said, nah, he's pretty dead. She's dead too. He said, you sure he's dead? And he's like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure he's dead. So they lock Buddy Lee up. Give Buddy Lee life. At this time, they still had the possibility of parole, but they know they're never going to get this man, no type of parole. Should have been a crime of passion, but either way, they gave Buddy Lee life. When I met Buddy Lee was an old man. And there's a big misconception of when it comes to old white men in the penitentiary. You're automatically labeled a chomo. You're a child molester if you're an old white man that wears glasses, because that's what we've come to see as the stereotype. Buddy Lee fell in that category. People would call him a chomo. Here and there, dudes would steal stuff from him. They'd be real sneaky about it because he had Ernie as a cellie, and if Ernie found out, Ernie cut your ass from ear to ear. So me and Buddy Lee are sitting out at the table one day, and Buddy Lee's he's real quiet. He don't bother many people. And we had something. It was something I needed, he had that I needed. So we got to conversating. And I come to realize Buddy Lee wasn't no chomo. Buddy Lee was a killer. Buddy Lee had never hurt nobody in his life, had never done anything in his life to anybody. He worked hard, loved his wife, but in that moment, something clicked, and Buddy let both barrels on that shotgun ride. Buddy Lee would show me old newspapers clippings, local man kills town sheriff and deceased wife located, man suspect in custody. He had these clippings for a long time. I've searched and searched. This stuff is so old, you can't find nothing on it. But if anybody knows anything on this case, please hit me up in my email, man. It's jletslivelife@gmail.com. So, Buddy would go up for parole every 5 years. He would go up for parole. And every 5 years, Buddy would be convinced that since he was so old, he ain't gonna hurt nobody. They gonna let him go. That's what Buddy thinks. Right before Buddy would go off for parole, Buddy Lee would sell everything he owned. He would sell off his commissary. He'd sell his TV. He'd sell his radio, and he'd tell everybody, I'm gonna be going home this time. I don't need none of this stuff. It was really sad to watch because we all knew Buddy Lee wasn't going home, and Buddy Lee had been selling off his stuff like clockwork every 5 years for as long as everybody that I talked to about Buddy Lee could remember. They'd be like, oh, he must be going off parole. There he goes again, selling his stuff. Oh, I ain't gonna need it. I'm gonna leave it to you guys. You guys gonna need it. I'll give it to you for a good price. It's a good TV. Buddy Lee would go off parole, get turned down, and then he'd be putting the slip back in the property, reordering everything that he bought. And some of the guys were nice enough to actually sell him back his stuff. I actually seen somebody give him some of his stuff back one time. People take these old guys as a joke. When you're old like that, fragile, out of shape, nobody really respects them. Guys like me, I respect them, you know what I mean? Those are the OGs. That dude's been around in the system since the 60s. He ain't no child molester. Who am I to take anything from him or treat him any type of way, right? Before we get off topic, we called him Buddy Lee because he reminded us of the little dude from the Levi's commercial. I'm gonna throw a picture up so y'all can see it. Look just like him, man, but an older version and fat. Buddy Lee gets turned down, starts regaining his property, and he was just like Ernie. He ran a store box. He had cigarettes. He didn't get no money from the streets. When you're that old, you're pretty much forgotten about. You know what I mean? Nobody's sending you nothing. Well, this dude tries Buddy Lee, man, and a lot of dudes that try Buddy Lee, but this dude just, I guess, with Buddy Lee getting turned down on probation and the parole thing, it struck a nerve with him. Dude comes to him, borrows a bunch of packs of cigarettes to go gamble with. Buddy Lee tells him, make sure you pay me back on store day. He trusted the dude, young black dude. Dude, I got you. Dude took those cigarettes, never had no intentions on paying Buddy Lee back. Buddy Lee's an old ass man. What you gonna do, old man? You know what I mean? Nobody paying you back. Store day rolls around. This guy goes and pays everybody that he owes. He was known for owing everybody. Young, loud, obnoxious. I couldn't stand the dude. I was kind of glad the day this shit happened. But Buddy Lee walks up to him and somebody comes to him and says, hey, Buddy Lee, did dude pay you? Nah, he ain't been over here to pay me yet. I said, well, that's weird, man, because he's out there at the tunk table gambling. Got a bag of cigarettes, a bag of food, and he's gambling. He ain't paid you? Nah, he ain't paid me. Well, you might want to go ask the man for your money before he spends it all up at the poker table or playing tunk. Buddy Lee politely goes over to the table and says, hey, you think maybe after that game you could pay me my cigarettes? Man, don't be interrupting my game. Don't come over here fucking with me when you see me gambling, man. Oh, I just thought maybe you forgot me. Forgot you? I ain't forgot you. I ain't giving you shit. You bucked on. Oh, don't do me like that. You gotta pay me my cigarettes. That's how I eat. You're bucked on, old man. I ain't giving you nothing. Buddy Lee puts his head down and you can see that he's disturbed. He's sad, old, pissed off. He goes to Ernie. Ernie's a savage. Ernie ain't having it. You're not going to be up in the cell living with Ernie and having people taking stuff from you, because then they going to think they can take it from Ernie, and Ernie will have to take one of them up out of here, right? I'm standing right there at the door as him and Ernie are debating, and Ernie's telling him, you need to take this knife out there and put this knife in there, boy. That's what you need to do. You need to poke holes all in him. You already got life, buddy. They not going to ever let you go. Go out there and kill that boy. No, I can't. I'm old, you know. What if he gets a knife from me? Or what if I don't poke him hard enough to kill him? What I'm going to do then? Ernie sat there. He said, man, I don't want to get up close on him because he'll grab a hold of me or something might take the knife. Ernie said, okay. Ernie goes out in the pod, goes to the stash spot, and gets a nasty banger. Just a nasty piece of metal. It's sharp, it's long, got a good point on it. It'll go through your skin, no problem. Buddy Lee used to walk with a cane. Tells Buddy Lee, give me the cane. Now remember I told y'all Ernie had skin cancer, so he had these big sores, and the skin would bust really easy. So he had medical tape in the cell, he had gauze pads, all this different stuff. He takes Buddy Lee's cane, flips this shank and pulls the stopper off the end of the cane, puts the shank right there and takes this medical tape and tapes it to the end of the cane. Tells him, now you go out there and you handle your business. What am I supposed to do with this? He said, just walk out there like ain't nothing going on. Walk up to him at the tunk table and just jab the shit out of him. It'll go in him. Just start poking him with it and it's gonna go in. You gotta let these boys know they can't take nothing. I'm old. I'm old too. But you can't let people take nothing from you. You go out there and you stab his ass up. Man. I didn't know if I expected Buddy Lee to do it. I didn't know if he had enough strength to even push the blade through his body. But he looks at Ernie. Him and Ernie been friends a very long time. Been bidding together a very long time. Was both up in age. And he knew Ernie was right. He knew he couldn't let this guy just ride with them cigarettes. He chumped him in front of everybody at the poker table. Called him a chomo. Not knowing, I didn't seen the man's papers. I didn't seen his clippings. This man's a certified killer, you know what I mean? He walks on out there and the boy's sitting there and he sticks him. Boom, 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 and pokes him 4 or 5 times. Hits him in the side of his neck, pokes him in his ribs and on his back. This dude jumps up from this poker table and is ready to rumble Buddy Lee. And Buddy Lee by now is backing up with this cane with this bloody shank on the end of it. Backing up, scared, thinking dude's gonna attack him. And before dude started to rush him, all the blood loss kicked in from where it hit him in his neck and in his back and in his ribs. And hit him in all these vital spots that'll drop a man. And as the dude was rushing him, he collapsed. Boom. Fell over. Buddy Lee walked back to the cell, started packing his stuff up. Ernie untaped the shank. By now they done called the code. They're running in. Ernie done untaped the shank from the end of the cane. Took the tape off, threw it in the trash. Walked over to one of the little drains in the middle of the pod and dropped the knife down the drain. Bye-bye shank. They come in immediately. Go to the cell. They don't rough Buddy Lee up. He's old. They tell him to turn around, cuff himself. Turns around, they handcuff him. They go in there and they get the youngin' up off the floor who's laying there dying now. And you know what's crazy? As he's dying, the dude's sitting at the tunk table. This is how grimy motherfuckers are. The dude's sitting at the tunk table are taking his chips, his tunk chips, taking his poker chips, and going through his bag, taking the cigarettes and the commissary that he brung to the game. Never seen Buddy Lee again. Never seen old boy again. I don't know if he died. I know the way Buddy Lee poked his ass up. He probably did die, but they try to keep them things on hush in prison to keep the media from getting a hold of it, and the warden have to answer to what's going on inside his prison, man. But just like that, they hauled dude out of there. They hauled Buddy Lee out of there, and that was the end of thinking old Buddy Lee was soft. Now, like I said, I always try to leave y'all with something positive out of the bad. Number one, don't ever look at nobody and playing for pussy or think they're soft. Don't put nobody in a category they don't belong in unless you know that's who they are. Treat people the way you want to be treated, because you never know what the next man is capable of. Each one teach one, each one reach one. Somebody should have told that youngin', hey man, pay that man his cigarettes, man. He looked out for you. You don't do him like that. That's an old man. You don't do that. But didn't nobody say nothing. They let him carry Buddy Lee. And they ended up having to carry his ass up out of there. So anyways, man, I have to keep the content coming. I'm kicking this coronavirus. It's almost over. Trying to keep y'all entertained. Are you not entertained? Y'all know what this is, man. This is Jay Williams. Let's live life. And to all my real ones and the awesome real ones watching, because y'all still watching me, salute.